Here we go again as we bring in our track and field insider, Mike Courson, joining us on the show. You can check out a lot of his work at catchitkansas.com, including the track tracker, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But I feel like every time, I don't know if you're doing this on purpose, but like you got a new track and field shirt. Like I think the very first time we had you on, it was the Drake relays, but a different shirt. Then he had on an Oregon shirt, and now you got Drake relays. So I'm imagining that this is a fresh shirt, Courson.
Yeah, track and field doesn't necessarily always pay, but if you can get into the big meets, you got to buy the swag. So have been up to Drake Relays 2 years ago. Got to go back this year. Went out to Oregon 2 years ago. So yeah, got to represent when they let you in.
All right. So what happened? Like, what's so great about the Drake Relays? What do you enjoy?
I think this was the 116th year, so you got a historic meet. It's not like some of the big meets in Kansas where they bring in regional high schoolers. It is a tremendous Iowa meet, and Iowa happens to be really stacked high school side, but it's also a Division I track meet. Cool facility, the old Drake Stadium, got the cement stadium, the big blue oval is what they call it. So my angle this year was, hey, we've got a whole bunch of Kansas kids competing for Kansas State, and we haven't had that. Typically, Kansas kids are going SEC, Iowa State's Big 12, but finally starting to land some of them in state, and K-State's on the up under a second-year coach. So wanted to go see some of those kids at that next level and see how they're doing, and didn't disappoint. Lots of relays featuring 2 and 3 Kansas kids. Jack Guthridge from Wichita was on a couple relays, one of the all-time great sprinters in Kansas. Got to see, I'm from Great Bend, and I'll talk about this in a little bit, one of the premier hurdlers, Quincy Hubert from Mill Valley, beat our hurdler. We had a state champion level hurdler, but couldn't quite beat Quincy. She signs with Nebraska. I'm watching the K-State girl who's from Kansas, and all of a sudden I hear Quincy Hubert. Okay, she's running for St. Louis now. So it's just neat that even if they're not at K-State, Brett Schwartz from Santa Fe Trail was a high finisher in a couple throws representing Nebraska. So 2 years ago I went, I think it was Tyus Wilson, might have been the only Kansas kid. This year probably saw a dozen of them.
So numbers on the rise. All right. So if anyone goes checks out the latest track tracker on catchitkansas.com, what are they going to find? What are some of the things that jumped off the page for you here recently?
Okay, so I'm at Hoisington. It's a cold day. Hoisington has the state runner-up 3A, Marley Biddle, in the 100-meter, 200-meter dash. Who'd she lose to? Ashley Lehman, who set state meet records in both of them. So she had just run against her, got to run on her home track. So it was kind of fun to talk to her about, man, you're fast, but you got mopped. What's that like? So she was able to laugh about it. But I talked to her dad and said, surely Ashley Lehman will run the hurdles this year. She's probably going to multi at Nebraska next year. Go figure, get home that night. She has debuted. This is a career debut in the 300-meter hurdles. Just mentioned 2 really good ones. We had Adriana Shelby out of Wichita, Aurora Wessel out of one of the Shawnee Missions. I've seen some great hurdlers over the last 12, 15 years. Ashley Lehman runs it one time, knocks over the final hurdle, number 5 all time. And so she hadn't debuted in a couple events. There are 8 events on the track. Currently all class, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6A. She ranks number 1 in 3 of those events. Number 2 in 2 of those events, and that's only because Blue Valley has a really good sprinter in Maria Portela. And then you go to the field, Lehman is number 3 in the pole vault, number 13 all class in the long jump. And then you look at the relays, you think the bigger schools, more kids are going to have more powerful relays, and they do. Ashley did run those in their top 13 as a 3A school. So I believe you could be looking at arguably the best track and field season we've seen in Kansas.
That's all. I mean, your passion. We talked about your passion about it for track and field, but like, I mean, you sent me a text message and a picture earlier this week, and you're scripting out like predictions on what you might think of some of the classifications and how they might fall. Like what have you noticed so far? Now you don't have to throw out any predictions because I don't want to upset anybody based on who you think is going to win. But like you already kind of have some of that stuff mapped up on how you think might shake out.
It's going to be hard not to, and I believe in the system. I think I did this 2 years ago, so I've done it for Great Bend when we were on the hill. Can we beat some of the other schools? But this is Class 4A girls, and if anybody follows track, they know that's Andale. 6 of the last 7 state titles, including last year. I think it's 7 of the last 8, 6 in a row. In 2024, they lose to Eudora by 13 points. I thought that year Clearwater had a chance. A couple great hurdlers, some other mixed events. But I ran the numbers, and I think I saw on paper early on, Eudora could end this streak, and they did. Andale comes back, wins comfortably last year. So their 4A is one of those logjam classes where, okay, what's going to happen here? Is Andale going to stay on top? Baldwin, you go back to any of the great track coaches, Bill Bowerman at Oregon, Jack Bowman at Ellenwood, the Hall of Fame coach. You build that stable of quarter milers, and they bleed into the 200, the 400, the 800. Some of them can even mile it. Then you got the relays. So that if you get a kid in the field that can excel. So Baldwin and Bueller both have that stable of mid-distance to long-distance runners. But Andale has always been a powerful field team. So even though they're short and some of the staples that they've usually had, some of the relays, 400-meter dash, this is just off the season standings. If you look, there's a whole lot of toss-ups when it comes to regionals and whatnot.
Sure.
Andale has a 30-point edge in the field events. And when you're talking about margins decided by maybe 10, 20 points, 30 points is huge. And granted, all that has to come to fruition. Andale is in its own regional by itself, so they're not going to be hugely impacted. Threw in Wellington because of Drew Zika. She's assured 35, 40 points for Wellington. Vivian Wright's right up there in a couple events. So I wanted to see how they stacked up. Threw in Eudora because they've been a powerhouse, and 2 years ago they won it. Yeah, Wellington and Bueller, I think, show up in the same regional. So 2 years ago, when you take the top 4, that could be a big impact. Who's getting cut out? Now with the new system where it's top 3 and then the next 4 at large, probably you're still going to see closer to the season standings who's getting through. And then Eudora and whoever else I ran out east, Baldwin, they're going to be in the same regional. So you could see some shifting there, but just off the season stats, Bueller and Eudora come down to 2 points. And then you got Andale that's hanging out a little higher because of those field points. So be curious to see. You never know. You can only run 4 events at state. These coaches throw in kids that are not going to run relays at state, and that skews the relay time. So tons of wild cards in there, but always fun to crunch the numbers.
Are there any, I mean, off the top of your head, are there any other like teams that could be carried by 1 or maybe 2 individuals? You talk about some of those, those distance runners that kind of bleed into some of the track and field, and they can kind of sweep their events, if you will, maybe 3 or 4, get really high points. Are there any other teams that could make a big splash based on maybe 1 or 2 individuals?
Bishop Carroll in Class 5A, you've got 2 sets of twins, the Tomies, and they're all good distance kids. So we've seen them. A couple of weeks ago, they had the best 4x8 time in the state, but they're all running probably down to the 8s up to the 32s. We still haven't seen Ashlyn Sauer. She was one of my big predictions coming in the sprints. She's been injured. And so, frankly, Bishop Carroll girls have been loaded. Boys side, they've been strong in the hurdles. So a big question mark was Noah Holthusen. I think I got to saw him debut in Great Bend. I think that was his first meet. And he's been steadily progressing. And I think we're headed to one of the best 5A hurdle finals we've seen in quite a while. Shinji Pollard was probably my top hurdler from Casey Piper coming in. KU relays 2 years ago because we didn't have it this year. I'm 800 meters away because I can't see the backside, but I'm pretty sure he fell all the way down. And this is an elite meet. Still got up and made it a race. And so it is him and Holthusen, and Shinji is I think he went top 10, top 6 this last week. So Holthusen individually, that's going to be a really exciting race, but Bishop Carroll has some other hurdlers and some other distance kids that, once again, you're picking up points in a variety of places, but you throw in a kid like that that's going to pick up 8-10 points in an event. It's huge.
All right. We'll be keeping tabs on him. Courson, appreciate the time.
Cole, always fun. It's getting a little hotter than my powder work tonight.
Yeah, you look good, man. You look sharp for the viewers.
Got my tan going.
You look real good. You just keep doing those walks in the evenings, all right? That is Mike Courson, our track and field insider. Check out some of his articles in the track tracker at catchitkansas.com.